Bushy B, 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 Bushy B.
Auntie Rose. Auntie Rose lived next door to us here in Southwick. 20s flapper hat, 20s clothes, 20s shoes. It was 1964. Faded but still glamorous, retired buyer for Debenhams of Brighton, never married. Every Tuesday after primary school I'd go round for tea. Tinned herring rows on toast, cheese and onion crisps, a game of snap, then home to bed. Every Tuesday I'd marvel at her outside toilet with the big spiders, her garden with the stag beetles, her living room with furniture from a bygone age and a grandfather clock from an even more bygone age, and her mantelpiece crammed with stuff. There were 2 pictures on it. One of her as a little girl standing with the Southwick football team in the 1890s, and one of a man standing in a field leaning on a rifle. I'd always wondered, so one day, aged about 8, I asked the question, Auntie Rose, why did you never get married? She smiled and pointed to the photo. The man in the photo is the man I was going to marry. He was killed in the First World War. I never loved anyone else, so I never got married, John. That's why. I looked at her. That's really sad, Auntie. She smiled bravely. We had another game of snap. Cheers. But this is the poem, and it's called The Sack. So it was 2 a.m. when I got back. Morning star party, brilliant crack. I was dog-tired, the night pitch black. I searched behind for the rucksack I'd left on the back seat. Alack, there was a lack of rucksack black. I nearly had a heart attack. My mind went straight into flashback. To Manage Street it did backtrack. In Soho the car did pack. I'd left it in the road. Oh, cack. Strange fingers would invade my sack, the contents heartlessly unpack, my stuff I never would get back. Oh, awful day, alas, alack. Had it just held a mouldy snack, perhaps a dirty anorak, some Prozac in a blister pack, an empty bottle of cognac or gel for fighting dental plaque, a picture of Chateau du Lac or even of the Merrimack, CD of Stan Webb's Chicken Shack, some fixtures for a luggage rack, biography of Jacques Chirac in hardback or in paperback, a DVD of Cracker Jack, a photo of Huey Scarlac who tried out for Brighton's attack, an old half-eaten Caramac or other replaceable cack. The future would not seem so black. It wouldn't class as a setback. I just have bought a new rucksack. But oh no, cue the goth soundtrack. Inside that sack was my new Mac. And on that new Mac I keep track of work, of life. I'm on the rack, more precious than a Cadillac. It's like a second scrotal sack. And there is more. I just come back from 4 good gigs and all the stack of dosh I'd earned was in that sack, and now I'll never get it back. But then of light I spied a crack. For Tony Wright I'd driven back from that great gig with that great crack, and he walked off with my rucksack. But all my hopes I soon knocked back. Like Amy I went back to black. He's got more brains than a dead yak or a retarded stickleback. He's not a kleptomaniac, or so I thought. I hit the sack. I slept like an insomniac with thoughts of passwords folk could crack with info found on my new Mac and all that dosh they'd spend on smack. And then I got a message back. Reet, sorry lad, I took that sack. I was so pissed, come get it back. Sorry about the accent, folks. It's a fairly generic southern pastiche of a northern accent there, sorry about that. My wife says Tony needs a whack, a smack, a thwack upon the back. She slept beside a maniac, a panicking insomniac. A Yorkshireman had pinched my sack, and now, thank fuck, I've got it back. So please, folks, give him lots of flack. He gets this poem as payback. Cheers. On the next page there's a photo of him walking off with my rucksack while totally paralytic, as indeed he was. Right, now I'm going to do a few of my songs. Dazzer is a looter in trainers and a hood. He trashed his local corner shop. He learned that greed is good. The CCTV nailed him, the papers called him scum. The CCTV nailed him, the papers called him scum. Now Dazzer's in the Bowery place, crying for his mum. There's no such thing as society, so steal and cheat and loot. Just one thing to remember, make sure you wear a suit. Bazzer is a looter, in pinstripes, brogues and tie. Short selling in the city, he made millions on the sly. He nicked our hard-earned savings, then turned round and said thanks. He walked off with the money, we bailed out the banks. There's no such thing as society, so steal and cheat and loot. Just one thing to remember, make sure you wear a suit. When greed's a creed that breeds and breeds, what else you could expect? The selfish scum get richer, communities get wrecked. Some rob us with an iron bar, some a computer screen. And when they say it's legal, that's even more obscene. Bazzer is a street kid, and what he did was wrong, but he probably wouldn't do it if he felt he could belong. Bazzer's rich and privileged, he doesn't give a shit. He takes us for a load of mugs and gets away with it. There's no such thing as society, so steal and cheat and loot. Just one thing to remember, make sure you wear a suit. There's no such thing as society, so steal and cheat and loot. Just one thing to remember, make sure you wear a suit. Make sure you wear a suit. Make sure you wear a suit. Cheers. Broken plectrum. You're very, very welcome to join in with this one. And you may not have sung a chorus like this before, but there is a first time for everything. Give Hester and Diamond their bonus. They deserve it, they do a good job. I want workhouses for the dull scroungers and a picture of Prince Harry's knob. I work for my gaffer for nothing. I'm grateful he gives me a job. I'll swap all your bloody trade unions for a picture of Prince Harry's knob. His knob, a picture of Prince Harry's knob. His knob, a picture of Prince Harry's knob. There's the chorus, so you're very welcome to join in next time. The country, it just can't afford it. Those strikers, they're all rent a mob. They should all doff their caps and be happy with a picture of Prince Harry's knob. Don't give me your bleeding heart lecture, you middle-class guardian snob. Cause some of us live in the real world with a picture of Prince Harry's knob. His knob, a picture of Prince Harry's knob. His knob, a picture of Prince Harry's knob. You lefties and loonies and liberals, it's time you shut your bloody gob. Cause all that the likes of me ask for is a picture of Prince Harry's knob. I'm penniless, hapless and hopeless, and the state of my health makes me sob. But I'll work like a slave for my betters with my picture of Prince Harry's knob. His knob, a picture of Prince Harry's knob. His knob, a picture of Prince Harry's knob. One more time. His knob, a picture of Prince Harry's knob. His knob, a picture of Prince Harry's knob. Yes, I'll read the Sun and I'll believe it with my picture of Prince Harry's knob. Cheers. The poem's called Lost in the Supermarket. Lost in the supermarket. I don't want cash back. I want the clash back. I guess in quite a lot of ways I grew up just like you, a Bushy kid who didn't think the way they taught him to. You kicked over the statues, a roots rock rebel star who knew that punk was more than just the sound of a guitar. And I'll always remember that night of the rainbow when you wrote a soundtrack for my life, Commandante Joe. So many bands back then were like too many bands today. A bunch of blokes who made a noise with bugger all to say. The Clash were always out in front, you put the rest to shame. Your words were calls to action, your music was a flame. You were our Commandante and you raised an inferno. And you wrote a soundtrack for my life, Commandante Joe. in the Palais, midnight till 6. Rocking Reds in Brockwell Park, Stingers in Knightsbridge, up and down the West Way, in and out the lights, Clash City Rockers, know you're right. I guess in quite a lot of ways I grew up just like you, a Bushy kid who didn't think the way they taught him to. Like you, I always knew the words of music held the key. As you did for so many, you showed the way to me. Although I never met you, I'm so sad to see you go, cause you wrote a soundtrack for my life, Commandante Joe. Although I never met you, I'm so sad to see you go, cause you wrote a soundtrack for my life, Commandante Joe. They all are, and it's called The Man with the Beard. When the man with the beard he first appeared, the man they call JC, the scribes and Pharisees, they all sneered at the man they called JC. Like Lilburn he a vision saw of a land where none were working poor, and he vowed to make that vision law, the man they called JC. He cares for the young and the sick and the old, the man they call JC. And people are worth much more than gold to the man they call JC. He stands up tall and he speaks the truth, and he mobilised the nation's youth. Got 40% in the polling booth, did the man they call JC. But it's not one man, it's ideas that count with the man they call JC. And we don't need a sermon on the mount from the man they call JC. He's got momentum, that's for sure, like the new model army in days of yore. And we'll take from the rich and we'll give to the poor with the man they call JC. So let's not build a personality cult around the man they call JC. Or another religion could be the result with a man they call JC. He's not the Messiah or a naughty boy, but a man Murdoch wants to destroy. That's how we know he's the real McCoy, the man they call JC. Thank you. If there's anybody here who has ever been to or taken part in a shittier gig than my shittiest gig, I will buy you a pint at half time. And I promise you there wonent be anybody. I went off on tour, Telford, Oakengates Theatre, 31st of August 1984. Nice place, good crowd. Then, in the middle of my gig, a bloke in the audience shouts, "I've got some shit!" "Fine," I say, "but I don't smoke." "No, I've got some shit!" At which point he whips out a carrier bag full of his own faeces, smears it on himself, then starts to the people round him. I've seen some trouble at gigs, but no bunch of Nazi boneheads ever scattered an audience like that bloke did. Fortunately, the venue security had hearts of oak and stomachs of iron. They pulled him out and the gig carried on. If anyone ever says, "I had a really shit gig last night," I say, "I bet you I had a shittier one in Telford once," and tell them that story. Cheers. This is called My Poetic License. Yo, I'm the MC of Ranting Rebel Poetry, and I'm a history and my identity. I'm independent of Red Cottage industry, DIY from here to eternity. Let me tell you what's been going on. I take inspiration from centuries long gone. Oral tradition of sedition, that's my position. No court jester with a tame disposition. Poetic license, 37 years I've had one. And they don't come easy, they're not handed out for fun. You have to earn it, work and sweat and move, not get stuck in a dead poet bore groove. I earn mine in dirty, scummy punk clubs, art centres, rock gigs, festivals and dodgy pubs. And it's once or twice I've had to fight. But when a fascist hits a poet, the poet's doing something right. I love words, and I love them in the red and raw. I like to use them in ways that have not been used before. I want you to laugh, I want you to think as well. Bollocks to TV, this is live as hell, oral tradition. The real origins of poetry. Attila the Stockbroker, ranting rebel MC, Dean of the Social Surrealist University. Welcome to my wild poetic journey. Cheers. This is called Never Forget. I remember my stepfather moaning in the first strike in 72. Miners holding the country to ransom. I was 14. I thought about you. You worked underground, often in danger. Hewed the coal we depended upon. He earned more checking tax forms in Brighton. I knew then just whose side I was on. I remember Kent pickets at Shoreham when our port bosses shipped in scab coal. By the time they were back 12 years later, a new anger burned deep in my soul. You'd won once, but this time will be harder. For your foe was no bumbling Heath, it was Thatcher, revenge her agenda, a class warrior, armed to the teeth. You were miners on strike for your future, for your pits, your communities, ways. We were punks, poets, anarchists, lesbians, theatre groups, Rastafarians, gays, different worlds in a rainbow alliance, fired up and determined to win. And Thatcher lumped us all together, punk or miner, the enemy within. As a poet, I crisscrossed the country, from Durham to Yorkshire to Kent, doing benefits, arguing, learning, raising funds that were so quickly spent, playing a tiny role in that great battle which you fought so hard and to the last. A battle so proudly remembered, now that 30 long years have gone past. I remember those pictures from Orgreave, police faces contorted with hate, the communities brutalised, battered by the raw, naked power of the state. If it took guns and tanks to defeat you, she'd have used guns and tanks on you too. The veneer of democracy shattered, the hired thugs of the privileged few. After Orgreave came Wapping, then Hillsborough. With the press and police on her side, Thatcher smiled as the printers were beaten and those 96 football fans died. She had a quite brazen agenda, summed up perfectly well when she said that there's no such thing as a society. Don't blame us for being glad that she's dead. Now the bankers destroy the economy, and the poor and the sick get the blame. And our once proud and strong labour movement is shackled and timid and tame. But this poet will always remember the brave men and women I met. We will carry on fighting for justice, and we'll never, no never, forget. Thanks. This is called my 9th birthday. I'm sure it won't surprise you to learn I was a proper little show-off. Too clever by half, said my Victorian grandmother who lived in the flat downstairs. You're spoiling Muriel. Children should be seen and not heard. Be quiet, John. When you begin to pay a little, then you begin to say a little. There were plenty more such epithets. If I asked what was for tea on the days she was in charge of me, she'd always say, air pie and a walk round, or bread and pullet. And when she read about the latest exploits of the royal family, or anyone else remotely wealthy or privileged, in the pages of her beloved Daily Express, she'd often exclaim with heartfelt approval, it's not for the likes of us. When, years later, I read The Ragged Trousers Philanthropist by Robert Tressel and heard that particular servile catchphrase again, I felt retrospectively vindicated in my instinctive determination back then to do the exact opposite of nearly everything she told me. Despite my grandmother's best efforts, I was seen, heard and then some, in school and out. Self-assured and confident, playing the violin and recorder, writing little poems and songs, and about to begin a massive project about the American Civil War based on the battle stories printed on the back of the unbelievably gory bubblegum picture cards we boys bought on our way to school. Cards with titles like Crushed by the Wheels, Wall of Corpses and Messenger of Death. If you're made and over 50, you may well remember. My form teacher liked me, let me help other kids in class. I had lots of friends, and if wannabe bullies hit me, I hit them back. Like I say, a proper little show-off. It was my 9th birthday. At Manor Hall Junior School, when it was your birthday, you couldn't wait till lunchtime, but you had to. Then you stood in front of everyone else in the canteen. A big colourful plastic cake was brought out with proper candles on it. You blew out the candles, Everyone sang happy birthday, even the kids who thought you were a show-off wanker. The teachers made sure of that. And you got the chance to grab a handful of sweets from a big jar. As far as I can remember, I was the only one with a birthday that day, so I had everyone's undivided attention. I was really looking forward to it. But I never got to show off, and I didn't want to show off. My 9th birthday was different. It was October the 21st, 1966. Before we went to the canteen for lunch, and on my little birthday cameo, we were told there was going to be a special assembly in the school hall. Everyone wondered what had happened. Even I realised they wouldn't have one, just because it was my birthday. The headmaster, Mr. Young, came in looking very sad and told us that earlier that day a huge mountain of coal waste had engulfed a junior school like ours in a Welsh mining village called Aberfan, and many children the same age as us had lost their lives. He asked us to pray for them. We all did. Some of us cried. They still sang happy birthday in the canteen a few minutes later, but it wasn't a happy birthday at all. I kept thinking about those children. After I got home and talked to my parents and had my birthday tea with my friends, I tried to write a poem for Aberfan, but I couldn't. The poem I wanted to write was far too big for a 9-year-old. We did a collection at school, the money was sent to the disaster fund, and then, as happens when you're a child with supportive parents at a supportive school, other things quickly came along to take the sadness away. But on my birthday for the next few years, I always thought about the children of Aberfan. Years later, I learned about the underground springs below colliery waste tip number 7 on the hill above the village, which caused the coal waste to turn to slurry and crash down on the school. Springs easily spotted on maps which were never even consulted. I learned about the negligence of the authorities and the insensitivity of the press. Some things never change. I learned about the father who, as the inquest into his child's death declares the cause to be asphyxia and multiple injuries, shouted out, "No, sir! Buried alive by the National Coal Board." I learned how a ruling was made that parents had somehow to prove their children's deaths had caused them anguish before they were allowed to benefit from the disaster fund, and that some of the money from that fund was used to clear the other waste tips above Aberfan because the Coal Board refused to pay for it to be done. I learned about the long-term psychological effects of the disaster on the whole village. In short, I learned how the lives of working-class people, of working-class children, were held cheap. So cheap. But that was much later. Back then, I was a child. A proper little show-off who didn't want to show off on his 9th birthday, trying to write a poem for children like him, for the children of Aberfan. Thanks.